This is Senior Snare Drum Solo number 4 by Mike Sartini. Okay, let's talk our way through the etude. Right off the beginning, I'm doing something a little bit unusual. I'm starting the piece with my left hand, and there's a specific reason for that. If you look at measure 3, the bar that starts with the triplet, I know that I want to basically start beats 2, 3, and 4 of that measure with my right hand, but since we have a triplet in beat 1, that means beat 1 is going to start with a left. Since beat 1 starts with a left hand, then I'm going to start the roll at the end of beat 2 with my left hand so that I also finish with my left hand. And in this case, at this tempo, I'm choosing to play these rolls as 5-lets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or if you're using the beats, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So that's what I'm using as my roll base for those rolls. Since I'm starting measure 3 with my left hand, coming out of a left-handed roll, then I'm going to end measure 1 and go into measure 2 so with that same sticking so that I'm using the same sound. Since measure 2 starts with a left, that's why I'm choosing to start measure 1 with a left hand. So let me do that phrase slowly the way that I'm doing it. So with the left hand. You could also certainly start measure 1 with your right hand, play the roll at the end of measure 1 with your right hand, downbeat of measure 2 with your right hand, and then switch to the left hand for the other roll. So it would look like this. You switch hands. I chose not to switch hands because I want everything in measure 1 and 2 to sound the same. And since measure 3 needs to start with a left hand, that informed my decision all the way back to the beginning. So let me play that first phrase up to tempo again, starting with the left hand. Then I'm doing a 5-lit roll bass down at the end of measure 4, starting it with my right hand, going all the way down to piano. Remember that the piece does not start at forte, it starts at mezzo forte, so give yourself some room to increase dynamics as we go through the piece here. Don't start off too loud too soon. Then as we move into the second line, then we have a little 16th note flam passage. Since both of those flams happen on the E's and U's, I'm just playing hand to hand and playing those with my left hand. In the next bar, the 2 8th note rolls I'm playing is triplet based, so they're going to switch stickings beat to beat. And then all 3 of those flams can then be played with the right hand. In the next next bar, the first two notes, I know you see the large forte indication there. The first two notes are not forte. They're still piano. Then when you get to the forte, they're not accented, but all three notes need to be the same volume. And the trick here is to play that figure with the same rhythmic tightness, whether it's at forte or piano. Then the next bar is forte with an accent at the end. Right, and so you can hit that accent, right? So this phrase. Then we have the beat of rest. Then we move into 3/8. If you would like to, if you need help working on this, so the piece is marked at tempo 95. So I have it at 95 there. If you bump the tempo up to 190, that's your eighth note. And if you have a metronome that does it, then you can put this section in 3/4 so that you can hear how the beats work. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Right, and etc. You can work on the 3/8 phrases in the piece that way. Actually, I'll leave my metronome there for a second because I'll show you something else in a second. So when we get to the 3/8, we have double drag. Then we have 3 4-stroke roughs that are creating a sort of quarter note hemiola. We're going to run into that motive a couple times in this piece. So that because the dynamic is low and I'm looking for clarity because it's fast, on my roughs I'm doing the sticking right, left, left, right. So that they're real nice and crisp. You can also use single stroke sticking. I'm starting with the left and ending with the right there. But I find that what we call the doubled sticking gives me a little bit more articulation and a little more crispness in the sound. Okay, so we go through the first 4 bars. Then notice in the 5th bar, then we have all housetop accents. Now, generally that means a marcato, dynamic roughly 2 dynamics louder than the prevailing dynamic level. So if this line is all at mezzo piano, then those housetop accents are going to be at about forte. In addition, because it's an articulation, I want the drum to make a more articulate sound. So just for that one measure, I'm generally playing about halfway between the center and the edge right now, maybe a little bit closer to the edge. For that one measure, I'm going to scoot in and I'm going to play those 6 notes dead center so I get the most articulation out of the drum. Then I'm going to go right back as the line changes, right? So here's that line. Right, nice and articulate. I'm doing both of the flams with my right hand. Then we move into 7/8. Again, you can do the same thing with your metronome if it does it. I can bump it up to 7 here. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and then the metronome will help me stay aligned as I move through the next 6 bars or so. All right, so now in the 7/8 part, we have a half note roll again, like the other half note rolls in the piece. I'm doing a 5-lit bass there. You can do 16th notes if you want. Although at this tempo, I find doing 8 over the half note is a little bit too open for me. I like doing it as a 5-lit instead. And then we have a lot of very fast 30-second note passages in this phrase. What you have to make sure is that the 30-second notes don't open up into 16th note triplets. You have to keep everything nice and tight. So we have the 5-lit roll. Flam. Then this 8th note roll I'm doing as a triplet up and then a 5-lit down. And both of those starting with my right and ending with my left. You can do it the other way if you'd like. That works perfectly fine. Just coming from the sticking that's coming before it just makes more sense for me to start them with my right hand. So piano up. I'm going up to about mezzo forte or so, and then right back down to piano. Up in the short roll, down in the long roll. Okay, then we have a fast 30-second note passage that also crescendos. So again, you have to keep everything tight. Right, and the loudest note is the forte at the end, but it isn't an accent. It should be a smooth crescendo from piano up to forte. Then we have basically another hemiola idea, an over-the-bar line idea. You're basically playing seven quarter note or eighth note rolls. From forte down to mezzo piano, I'm doing all those left hand to right hand with a triplet bass. All right, so here's the 7/4 section or 7/8 section now. Then we're back into 3/8, and it's basically sort of the previous phrase backwards. Notice here that from the 3/8 all the way through the next line, the dynamic does not change. You're going to want to have to fight the tendency to either get louder or get softer over the phrase. You have a little bit of room for dynamic phrasing, but we're not consciously changing the dynamic range of that phrase as we do the ritardando. Everything needs to stay right at mezzo piano or in the range of mezzo piano, right? So here's that 3/8 phrase again. 1, 2, 3, go. 2, 3. No release on the roll, just a clean lift. Then we have we can hold it out for a second for the fermata. Then we have the caesura, so just a nice clean break as we clear the air. Also note, in the ritardando on this line, I find it easiest to do the retard during the most note density. So in the 30-second note bars, that's where I'm doing most of the slowing down, because that's when my hands are moving the most. It's hard to do it during the double drags because of the space that exists in that figure as by design. Okay, then we go to the a tempo again, because I'm starting the piece from the left hand. I'm going to start it from the left hand again. The first 3 bars are exactly the same as they were before. Then on the 4th bar, I'm doing all right hand flams, moving from mezzo forte down to piano. So what I really have to concentrate on is as my stick height in the primary hand gets lower, I don't make any of the flams fuzzy or pop any of them, right? So here's that phrase. Right? Flams have the same quality, they're just decreasing in volume as you go through. Okay, then 2 lines from the bottom here. This line is going to repeat, so I'll talk about it once and then play through it twice. For this long roll here, notice that the roll is 5 beats long, but the dynamic indication is only 4 beats long. I'm playing a 5-lit bass, so if I put my metronome on the quarter note again, let me scroll back. Right, so that's the roll bass that I'm using. I'm using 5-lits there. Up 2 beats, down 2 beats, then beat 1 of the second bar of this line is at piano. You're not still going down to piano. You have to be at piano for 1 whole beat. Then, because I'm doing 5-lits, the release on beat 2 is going to be with my left hand. And then the E and in beats 3 and 4, since in natural sticking they would also be left hand, this works out so that all 3 of those 2-note figures have the same sticking, right? So I'll do it again without the roll. Ready? All right, so all 3 of those 2-note figures have the same with the roll. Then we have two flammecue figures. Make sure you don't pop any of the flams and only the single accent in each rudiment. It's not that right hand flam at the end is very commonly accented. Don't accent that. Then we have a little accent tap figure. And the downbeat on beat 4 is not an accent. We have the of 3, and then you got to keep your right hand low if that's the sticking you're using on beat 4. All right, so those. So I'll play that line twice. Then we have the last line, the 3/8 figures again. No retard, but a crescendo all the way up to fortissimo. The final note has a house top accent, so that I'm aiming for the center of the head at my loudest volume there. All right, one more time. I'll count it off this time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The third measure of that line is a little tricky because you don't have the third eighth note. Right, so you really have to feel the space for that eighth note there. So don't go. Right, don't open up the space in that second figure. Okay, now I'll go back to the top. I'll play through the whole thing one more time.